listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin. To master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Once you walked in a forest of splendor in which everything you did and everything you thought was aligned. It is possible at this time to begin to return to the old knowledge. Intuitive healer and manifestor Julia Griffin is here to talk about this unique time in history when all sentient beings, animals, plants, trees, and the earth are intent on creating this change. The wolves awakened her to the most incredible light, which opened gifts and brought knowledge that she longs to share. You are creators, and you are born to be creators of beauty, possibility, and joy. Join Julia on a journey into a beautiful and magical world where amazing possibilities exist. Let us help open the door. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening with Julia Griffin starts right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Griffin, and you're listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour and let us help you experience a higher vibration in a new state of mind. And I'm sure all of you know when you go into a higher vibration, things change and tend to move in a positive way. If you're listening for the first time or you're not familiar with me, I'm an intuitive coach and healer. I can hear the thoughts of people, animals, and plants. I learned these skills from real wolves that I lived with for 10 years. And my work focuses on the soul path and the presence of the inner self. And I offer readings and classes for this. And you can find me at my website, onetrueself.com. Today, we're talking with Leena Zafary, and she has some very interesting information to share with us about near-death experiences and how they're very different from what we tend to perceive as life and death, and how it changes us when we go through this. So let me tell you about her. She's a survivor of near-death experiences and a spiritual transformative experiences. She's turned this into a catalyst for personal growth, which I think many people do who go through near-death experiences. With expertise in healing modalities and intuitive insights, she empowers others to embark on transformative paths. As a healer, Leena combines her background and training in Reiki, Acoustic Research, and intuitive energy healing to guide clients to a state of spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical well-being. Leena's passion for community shines through her role as IANDS of Las Vegas group leader. And this is a group for people who've had near-death experiences. She facilitates and moderates sharing groups, fostering a safe place for personal growth and support. So welcome, Leena. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here.
I wonder if we could begin with your telling us about your near-death experience. I've had one, and I've also had a shamanic death, but I think it's very different to hear someone else relate it. So tell us about it.
I'm sorry, about the near-death experience?
Yeah, your personal near-death experience.
Ah, wow. Do you want to know about the actual experience or what led me to it? Because with an experience like this, there's like the before, there's the during, and then there's the after, which could be like...
Well, we'll get to after later. Why don't you tell us a little bit about before and then during?
Okay. Well, the before was what I thought was a typical healthy person. I was a mom of two young children, married, family, life pretty good, living in joy, being a mom. But, as anything, I actually got on vacation. I went on vacation and caught a cold, which was a regular, normal, common cold. But by the time I got home, the common cold had escalated to the point where I couldn't breathe. So intuitively,
Wow.
intuitively, something told me to go get checked out. Now, up until this point, I'm a pretty healthy person. I'm not a I'm not into any diets or fads or anything, but I am healthy. You know, I'm physically healthy. And I went from a common cold to not being able to breathe, and then went to the hospital. And then that was like a 9-day journey in the hospital. And in the hospital, the first 3 days, it was almost kind of like I was in the hospital. I was with the cold, um, but I don't have a lot of memories. I got better,
Mhm.
and then I took a turn for the worse, and then spent the next 5 days in the ICU. Now, I don't have many memories of the actual holiday stay beyond waking up, recognizing I'm in the hospital and away from my children, and thinking, what is going on? I need to go home. And I'm trying to desperately convince the nurses that I'm okay. I need to go home because my kids are like so little. And I was nursing my daughter, and my son had a birthday coming up. So I was very consumed with my need to get out of the hospital and go home. But that's about the extent of memories. Now, understanding what had happened to me, so this is kind of like what I've learned now, but what had happened to me essentially is that I contracted the H1N1 virus, and that's what really landed me in the ICU. And with that, very much like COVID, it attacked the respiratory. So I couldn't breathe in those 9 days. I completely, from what I was told, I lost both lungs. I was not unable to
Wow.
breathe on my own in the hospital, in the ICU, and both lungs had pretty much given up. And the doctors pretty much told my husband and my father at the time that nothing was really, I wasn't responding to anything, and that they should make arrangements and, begin to say their goodbyes. This is what my dad told me nearly 7 years later. So I didn't know all this was happening. I had no idea. All I knew is I would wake up and I was in a room. But after that, I guess sometime in that 5th day, um, what was told to me later on, that the doctors were getting ready to intubate me. And I
Mhm.
don't know what happened, but all I know is that I woke up. I got up, just like I'm sitting with you right now. I got up,
Mhm.
and it's like, okay. So I sat up, sat at the edge of the bed like this, and I felt just as alive as I am with you right now. Just like this, I looked around me, and I noticed I was in the ICU room. And I also looked over to my right, and I noticed that literally my body was laying on the right side, right on the bed that I was sitting on. It's like, okay, that's my body. And then I kind of go this way. And as I'm going this way, and I'm like looking around, and I have the awareness of being in the, like, this white room. But it's strange because I could see the darkness behind the white room that wasn't pitch black, but it was dark. So it was kind of like, okay, I see. Like on the outside, I was in this space, but inside was white walls, and it was lit. And in that space, I actually heard a voice. It was like a very clear, um, authoritative voice, a female voice, a woman's voice, and she said, "Leena, uh, you need to go back. You need to go back." And then she says, your children are waiting for you. And as she said that, it's almost like if I can turn around and look to my left, I looked over to my left, and I actually, I saw my children sitting there. Now, at the time, my son was about to turn 5, and my daughter was about 18 months or so. And I looked, and I was just like, oh, my babies, and I was consumed with like this love, it was like, oh, there's my babies. It's like what I've been yearning these 9 days to let me go home was to go to them. So seeing them was just an amount of joy I can't even explain in words. But it was almost, that space itself was lit. It was almost like extra lights in the room without extra lights. But it was just
Right.
this peaceful. There was no like stress, worry, nothing. It was just this pain, like love, like I saw my kids. All I wanted to do was pick them up and hug them. So I saw that, and as I bring my awareness back, the voice is like, Leena, you got to hurry up. You need to hurry up. You need to make the decision. And only you can make that decision. And it was very, very kind of like, she didn't say a lot of words, but the words that was spoken was very much like, I needed to hurry up. And I was the only one who can make that decision. And as I was hearing her say that, I happened to have like an awareness to the distance outside, kind of like looked, and it was almost like it was darkness, but I could see in the darkness. And in the darkness, I could see shadows of people sitting like next to each other and sitting like rows and rows of people, kind of like almost like like if they're sitting in a stadium in the darkness. And they were all just shadows, and they were all sitting facing me. Like everyone was towards me. And also I couldn't hear, but I could feel, and I knew that they were all praying for me. Like they were all sitting in prayer and they're praying. And it's like, I knew that was prayers were for me. And it almost like it lit me up from the inside out, kind of like there was this like wave of like love, light, energy that like gushed out, like, like, ooh, and then as I looked at each one, kind of like I put my gaze upon one of the shadows, and then the minute I looked at the shadow would rise up like this, and then it would just come close, and then all of a sudden I wouldn't see a person anymore. It was almost like I saw it was the light flame of a candle. So every
You were
time
seeing their inner light.
yeah, and it was like, it was almost like, oh, that's so cool. I would look at them, I was like, wow. And then they would disappear. And then my eyes, my focus or attention would go back, and I would look at another person. It's almost like I couldn't see who they were, but I knew who they were. They would kind of rise up in the shadow, come close. It was just repetitive. Like this happened several times. And right around there, it was almost like, boom, lights out. Everything stopped. Everything ended. And everything just ended. It's almost like you wake up from a dream. That was it. Now, I came back into my body, but I have no memory of going in my body. I don't know how that happened. So for me, when I came back, I never knew that I was anything different, because prior to that, I had many, many incredible dreams, visions, which I thought were dreams. So it felt like one of those, that real. So, yeah. So when I came back and I have no memory of coming back. Like I have no memory. But apparently I woke up and I was greeted by, I'm assuming, my family. I have no memory, but there's a picture of me that my ex-husband, my then husband, took a picture of me when he because he was there, and it's a picture of me sitting there in the hospital room, in the hospital bed, literally like this, holding a burger and eating, and I have no memory of it. And I had to, because I asked him like a couple years ago, hey, do you have any pictures of me in that time? And that's what he sent over along with a few other pictures. But I thought that was very weird that I came back, but I have no memory of it. But I remember going home and actually like hugging my kids.
Right. But the memory stayed with you. You just don't remember coming back into your body.
The part of coming back into my body?
No, you remember your near-death experience. You just don't remember coming back into your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
That's
weird
what I thought
because
you were saying.
yeah, it doesn't even feel like something that I thought that this many years after I'd forget details or I would lose memory, but it doesn't. It's
No, it's like a
just
living memory.
yeah, it's like I can go to it and it's instantly there and I'm there now again. So yeah,
I know. It doesn't matter how many years go by, it's still the same. I'll just tell them briefly. When I was 21, I was in an accident. And I did feel myself leaving my body. It was like it felt like these gates were opening and I was floating up. And then immediately there was this giant light that was coming from me and for me. And it was so big that to me it seemed like 3 or 4 universes. And I really couldn't understand how something so immense thought that I was important. And as it just started to encase me or come around me, I thought, I'm so young and I haven't finished what I came here to do. And I thought, if I could just live, I would be so grateful. And it was like instantly I hit my body like zoom, like when you have a dream when you're out of your body and then all of a sudden you're waking up, like what happened. But the
Yeah.
love and the light, I mean, I can talk about it now and it's with me. It's immense.
Right. It's like the lights come back on inside.
It
Yeah.
really is. And I was looking through your organization, which we'll get to later, but it said that, people who go through that, you really never doubt again that there's life after death.
Mm.
And you really never doubt again that there's some immense, incredible, beautiful force that's filled with light and love. I mean, that never leaves you.
No, it does not. It just for me, I had that knowing as a child because I also had a
Hmm.
near death experience at birth, but I
Right.
always knew that and felt that. So my NDE, my near death experience in 2014, just it amplified it, like,
Hmm.
you know, I guess.
Yeah, it's like you've gotten plugged into some huge force that you never would normally have encountered in physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, amazing.
And maybe you're not plugged in at this very moment, but anytime you think about it, you plug back into it.
Yeah. And I realized that
Yeah.
it's literally it's kind of like how they it's so funny that I'm comparing this, how they have the mice, they go back to get the water that tainted with, it's like we're like that, once we've had that experience, at least for me, any opportunity I have to either hear about it or to speak about it or to share about it, it's almost like, I'm back in that space and it feels amazing. It's like,
Yeah. It's like there's no loss of the memory whatsoever.
no, and it's like, this is what you want to do. Like,
Yeah. You want more of that.
yeah, give me some more.
Yeah. So, so one thing that you and I had talked about earlier is that there's several components that most people experience with near death. I think we said it's a tunnel, it's people who love you, it could be spiritual teachers, and there's a tunnel. So tell us about that, because I know that you work with a lot of people.
So in the past few years since I discovered IANDS, which is an organization that stands for the International Association for Near-Death Studies. And they've got 30 or 40 years of research from, some of the brightest, most, scientists, doctors, PhDs, and experiencers and scientists who had experiencers themselves. So they had a different type of language before and after. So there is a lot of information on near death experiences. And part of my passion with, starting the Las Vegas IANDS is to help kind of start bringing that out and to sharing that with everybody, because there's so much to know about it, and there's so many people experiencing it, just not knowing that that's what's happening because there's no conversation or dialogue or information. So first of all, there's different types of near-death experiences. There are people who have, like disturbing, hellish type experiences where they go on the other side and then it's not a pleasant experience. However, even those experiences that have been traumatic, by the time they come out, they come back out through the embrace of light. So they do come back to, through the energy of love, divine, however, or whoever, it resonates with them or you listening to it. But then there's a a percentage of people who have experiences where they go and they have, kind of like a life review, either of what they've done, or, a lot of people get pre, like what they could or does happen. Some people meet ancestors or loved ones on the other side. It's really like there's no one experience. We all have our own individual experience, but the hallmarks are pretty much, we meet loved ones. We end up either meeting or talking with the ascended master like Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Lao Tzu, whoever you or your lineage, your circle of people in your world kind of like resonate or hear. It shows up there, So and then there's people who have like really, like positive experience. There's a PMH Atwaters is
Yeah, I'm
a woman.
familiar.
Oh, you are? Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
discovered her. She's been a new discovery for me, but she's done a lot of research on childhood NDEs and the types of NDEs and how they manifest and how they affect us. So there's just so much data to share, but there are different types and there's no one type, and we all see differently. But when you have an experience like that, there's no doubt that something happened. There's no
Right.
question. It's just a
No.
matter of you not feeling like, oh my God, what happened? Am I crazy? And when they share it, some people can't understand it because it does sound crazy. Some of the things that, we say and we see, the words that we use, the language kind of, you know, for
Yeah,
somebody,
because there's no language for it.
yeah, it's for somebody who hasn't experienced it, cannot use the words that we use sometimes to get the full picture of what we're trying to experience. So it could be a little challenging. So there's a lot of experiences and a lot of interpretations.
Yeah, I was looking at your organization, and for people who are interested, they have a lot of videos and people talking about near-death experiences. I think one person was a surgeon and she had been kayaking and been underneath the water for 36 minutes and then she came back.
Oh my God, yes, there's so many incredible stories of people who've had experiences. I love IANDS because it does two things. One, they bring education and research and science behind it. They use the knowledge of medicine and the knowledge of science, and they're really, they've done incredible work with, bringing information to life with NDEs, near-death experience. But I think another component of IANDS that they do is they create space for experiencers to share. I think that for me, it has been one of the most profound things is to be in a safe space where other experiencers are there, and also other people, other non-experiencers who has the science and the knowledge and the medical intuitive and the ability and the language to kind of hold space, because it's coming back, it's a beautiful thing, but we need
It's
to
intense.
speak it. We need to be able to just breathe into it and be it, and allow just the space to allow us to like experience it again without being
Mhm.
judged or having to explain it or sound weird, justified.
Yeah, because it's hard to tell the people that you love about it because you can see at some point they're going, uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
It's not that they don't believe you, it's just they don't know what you're talking about.
I know. And so part of like integration, right? Because coming back, we all I guess integrated differently, and based on the level of our awareness of it before it happened to us affects how we integrate it, and our lack of awareness of it also affects how we integrate it. I grew up in a Muslim family. I was not spiritual. I did not meditate. I did not have any kind of practices or rituals or language to uh, describe or to have these experiences. So
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, it took me, it was harder for me to comprehend it, you know,
Right.
and
So how
I
did
don't
you
know
get
where I'm
there?
going with that.
It takes a long time, but
It,
it's like you never stop searching for that light again because it's a unique experience. There's nothing that you've ever felt like that before.
no, and there's a yearning to kind of go back, and I think by talking about it helps us feel like we're going back. At least for me, it does. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go back. Like I hear, so I facilitate and moderate sharing circles for IANDS. And basically what it is just an open share safe space to come and just hang out and to talk and to listen, right? So people who have experiences, we get together at like these 90-minute sessions, and we really, it's like this container of safety, and we just speak and we share. And it's so nice to hear other people share bits and pieces of their experience. And it is amazing how it helps us integrate our own experience, because it just does something, right? It's like to be heard helps us
Mm-hmm.
understand that, and part of doing that. So I get to hear a lot of stories and a lot of experiences, and I see that different people process it differently afterwards. And it's really nice to have that space, and where people come and it's like, where they feel so safe to just be and share.
So how does it affect them when you talk about science or you have a science? Do they like support what they're saying or they add things to it or what happens with that? Because I know you said you had some scientific people there
In
at
the
your
IANDS
meetings.
organization, you mean? Or in the,
Yeah,
well, in the IANDS
in the
organization?
sharing space.
Oh, so the sharing space, it's a safe space to be. We don't talk like academics. There's no science. There's none of that. That's the part that's dear to my heart, because I feel like that's the actual for experiencers to just come and be safe. But on the other side, like with IANDS, there's a lot of videos, there's a lot of webinars, there's a lot of the conferences. They've been doing conferences for I think 40 years now. I was at the conference this year and I was a speaker, so it's an incredible forum. Like people come and they speak, and people speak on different topics and different parts of it. So as far as the science and as far as the research, there are so many that if you just go on to IANDS.org, everything is at your fingertips. So it's, I don't want to
We'll talk a little
um
bit more about it when we come back from break. So I've been
yeah.
talking with Leena Zafary of IANDS Las Vegas Group, and this is all on near-death experiences. We've been talking about how we feel spiritually after that happens. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about how they change our future and maybe some of the scientific principles. So we'll go deeper. Stay with us, and we'll be right back after break. Hi, I'm Julia Griffin, and we're back to the second part of our show. I've been talking with Leena Zafary, a leader of the IANDS Las Vegas group, which focuses on near-death experiences. We've been talking about the spiritual components of near-death experiences and how they change our lives. So we'll go into this a little more deeply, and we'll talk about how your future changes when you have that experience. So you were going to tell us some more, Leena.
Yeah. So the near-death experience really, well, first of all, I had a miraculous healing from it, which I want to share real quickly. Now, when being in the ICU for 5 days, I had complete lung failure, both lungs gone. I did not know this until many years later, but when I woke up in my near-death experience and had that experience, and I came back into my body, I came back into my body. First of all, I don't remember. Second of all, I came back 100% healed. I got up
Yeah.
and both lungs completely healed. I woke up, I did not know I was there, went home, and the only thing I was told was to not be around anybody for a few weeks because my immune system was low. But how do you go from losing both lungs to completely healed, not knowing about it, having no breathing issues, no medication, no hospital, nothing, like instantly healed? And I did not know that that had happened until many years later, so which was interesting. Yeah. Actually, when I read about, or when I heard Anita Morjani, are you familiar? I'm sure you're familiar with Anita Morjani.
Yes.
She actually, she had a near-death experience, and she died from multiple tumors, cancers all over her body, large, large tumors. And she shares her beautiful story of having, that journey, and then having her experience, and then coming back, and then within a matter of so many days she got up and she was cancer free. And it's like, okay. I don't know
Right.
how science can prove stuff like that, but it's happening. I mean, I don't know if we're able to scientifically prove anything. I don't know, but I healed miraculously. So I believe in miraculous healing. And since then, I've been able to self-heal myself in many ways, interestingly. But what I was saying is that it opens a portal. For me, it left this portal open. 2-3 years after my near-death experience, I actually had another experience, and it's called a spiritually transformative experience. It was coined by a doctor by the name of Dr. Yvonne Kaysen. And she has an organization called SAI, Center for Spirituality. Sorry for not knowing the exact terminology for this, but she has done the study and research on spiritually transformative experiences. And after discovering her, I realized what happened to me in the float tank. And so it's been this wild discovery of events and of experiences. And it's just been this incredible journey. It's just, having these insane experiences, mystical experiences, remembrances, downloads. This portal is just open. There's this connection that's almost visibly available, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you really do know the light is never going to leave you after you go through something like that.
Yeah, it is.
And that is such a comfort. And you're still who you are after you die. That's something people always ask me. I'm like, it's like having your own atomic number. You're still that person.
Yeah. That's the most incredible thing, right? Like, you go on the other side, it's just like this. There's absolutely no difference. Yeah. It's unbelievable how real it is.
Yeah, and you think and you feel, and your emotions and the way you hear words, it's identical to the way it is in a body.
And you know what else I realized with my experience is that when we transition to the other side, so like our loved ones on the other side, they have the ability to literally see us and feel us. But the only thing I don't know, from my own experience, I can say is when you're on the other side and you're in spirit, the only emotion that you feel is love, because that's the only emotion I felt. Looking back, it's like you feel love. You don't see people like, kind of like from the other side, we see them in their lights. We don't see the shadow body. We don't see their shadow selves.
No.
We see their light. And here we happen to see the shadow body first and then the light when we get to know, right? So it's a interesting.
It's the opposite.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But you still hear people's voices who are on the other side. Their voices often sound the same.
Yeah.
You know, if they talk
Yeah.
to you, their voices sound the same.
And you know what the thing is the one gift that we don't have there, we have here. The only thing
Hmm.
missing on the other side is the gift of physical touch. You
Right.
know, it's like we can do everything else on the other side. We just can't poke you. We can't just touch anything, you know, like you know what I mean? Like the way we can't hear. Like I can come give you a hug and you can feel my hug. But on the other side, well, you
Right.
could feel hugs actually. We just can't
They
see
s-
them.
they say that in alchemy that everybody and everything in the spiritual world wishes it had our ability to pick up this glass and move it around.
You know, yeah, I have heard and seen that. And I think
Yeah.
people have the ability, just like we all have all the abilities, but we all have it to different extent. Like I can't do everything everybody else can do, and nobody else can do
Mhm.
what I can do. It's kind of like weird, but we all can do it. We just do different,
Yeah.
you know, like
We
what
do
we
it a
have
different
awareness.
way.
Yeah. And we have our own awareness to the way to do it. So yeah, it's beautiful.
And so afterwards, or obviously this led you into finding out more and working with people who had had near-death experiences. So you also do bioacoustic research. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So bioacoustic research. Uh, I came into bioacoustic research after my experiences. I understand it was like a divinely guided kind of a source resource um, for me to understand my world coming back because I had such an incredible experience that coming back, it's like all my senses were like heightened, right? Like, and
Yeah.
my sense, my strongest sense that was activated was my ability to feel things. So I felt things in a way that was so deep that at the beginning it was almost disturbing. So I was
Mhm.
looking for answers. And in that process, I came across this lady, Sherry Edwards. She was talking about something very strange, but it made sense to me. And basically, she was talking about how she was able to find the state of your mental health, your emotional health, and your actual physical
Right.
health through the sound of your voice. So
Uh-huh.
she was taking people's voice and she was telling them like, oh, you have inflammation here, and your calcium is too low, and your iron is too low. And you know, she was saying, I was like, wow. So it was just this fascinating thing for me, you know, for her to be able to
Mhm.
hear the sound and the vibration of everything. And it just made sense. So, you know, for me, it was my natural language of understanding because she put words into what I was feeling. So it was almost kind
Right.
of like, I don't know, it was harmonious to me to learn and understand it. And after many years, I actually became a practitioner, um, and I from Sherry herself. So I learned her technology and her what she does and how she does it. She's been doing it for over 30, 40 years. So there's, you know, a lot of science and data and research behind it. But essentially, yeah, I'm able to heal. I'm able to hear and feel where people are
Mhm.
in my own body. And I can sense, you know, what's at the core of what's bothering them through the words that they use. But you know,
Right.
that's like my intuitive gift. And it's so beautiful and harmonious that Sherry Edwards, you know, she has discovered sound vibration like many others, but she's actually put tools and technology together that actually helps take a voice recording and then to be able to look at somebody and say, okay, here's what's the underlying issue with why you feel the way you feel, you know, whether it's emotionally or physically. So it's kind of like I help.
So does the voice change? You know, let's say you need calcium and you take calcium for a month. Does your voice change?
Your voice doesn't change
The
at the level,
vibrations change.
but it changes. It changes in how you feel. See, everything
Hmm.
has sound and a frequency, but at the end, every sound frequency has an emotional component to it. Like, how does it make you feel, right? And as long as
Right.
the sounds within us and the sounds outside of us can make us feel harmonious, we are in harmony. That means we feel good. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
feel good, we think better, you know, life is good,
Right.
it's harmonious.
Mhm.
It's when there's frequencies and notes that are low or too much or missing or out of balance, is when we start to
Right.
feel some pressure and brain fog and, you know, inflammation, or just, you know, you just don't feel good, or, you know, it goes up to anxiety and AD, like all these issues. They're all just small little imbalances within our vibrational frequency. So this just helps find where the big imbalances are, helps bring balance, and then overall balance, it makes you feel better. So it's just, it's fixing from the
So do you
inside.
play, so do you play sounds to bring them back into balance, or do they make changes in their physical world? Or is it just the awareness that changes it?
Wow, all three, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the above. It's incredible how, you know, our thoughts are a vibration, our emotions
Right.
are a vibration, and then together we have the physical body, right? So when we have an awareness to something, it changes the vibration of that thought, and that thought changes how you feel, and how you feel changes your body. So just the awareness of something helps us shift and feel better. And
Right.
sometimes,
It's just like that second when you have a perception that you're part of a problem, that it
ah,
could be your belief, or it's the way you're saying something wrong, or that if you just see it a different way
and
and it
it's not
changes.
that you're wrong, and it's not that you're bad, and it's not anything like that. It's just like, oh, I was only going this direction, so I was only able to see these signs. But when you turn around, there's other signs that you can see. And I'm just
Yeah.
showing, let's look at it from different perspectives. So, but that's
You're
what
off
bio,
frequency.
yeah, I give them a,
You're off the frequency of your inner self, is what you're saying.
yeah, you, when you
Yeah.
release frequency, I can tell you what's around you. So, yeah. And
Yeah.
then, of course, there's different layers. So, one, if you know that you are low in magnesium, for example, right? Because most people, when they're low iron, they know, because they're like, oh, I'm so weak, I must be low iron. Okay, let's take
Yeah.
some spinach or iron pills and do some iron stuff, and then they feel better. But you know, it's weird, because the human body is not only out of balance when it's low. You know, we think we're always low. People go and buy more vitamins because they think they're low. Actually, it's the opposite. You know, people don't realize that their body could be too much in something. Too much
Right.
magnesium can off balance something else. Too much of this can off balance something else. So it's not a matter of you need more vitamins. It's a matter of, hey, this is too much on you. You need to cut back on this. Like, for example, salts, you know, your cell salts,
Mhm.
or a myriad of different things. This just helps you understand where your imbalances are, where you should focus. Do you need to do a diet change? Do you need to maybe take a supplement? Maybe do you need sound therapy? Because sometimes, like, uh, if somebody's calcium is low, you can take calcium through food. You can take calcium through supplements. There's many, many different types of calcium, and there's many, many different companies making it. But
Mm.
you can also take the frequency of calcium. So it's literally, uh, I give you a formula, and you put on some headphones, and you listen to the sound of calcium, and your calcium comes into balance. We are
Right.
vibrational beings before anything else, you know? So when we can learn to balance our vibration, it's like it has an effect going
And
out.
nature does it all the time. I'm an herbalist, and whatever your body needs, those plants as weeds grow around
Yeah.
where you live.
Right.
Yeah.
We are literally self-healing mechanisms, but we are told as children, as you know, we go to school, we learn how we need outside to fix our inside. And it's not what we do need outside to feel the inside, but we do it ourselves. We do it with the way we think, the way we feel, and definitely, I think people think that consumption is only through their mouth. right? Like we don't just consume through our mouth, you know, um, energy vibration, we're consuming through our ears, everything we listen to, we are consuming through our nose, everything we're smelling, we are consuming through our eyes, everything we're looking at. Whether we think we agree with it or not, we're still consuming it. Whether we think we're afraid or not, we're still consuming it. And that's the thing. It's where we need to learn how to bring that vibrational balance into our life. And I think that's what
Oh,
my near-death experience has helped me understand and realize about life is, we're energy beings. We're made to feel emotions, and
and
we
it
need,
responds to our vibrations.
and we need to
Yeah.
not be afraid of our emotions, and we need to understand our emotions and to, nurture our emotions, because I think
Well, I think
we
everybody
hurt
knows that if you
ourselves.
meditate and you're really connected, you're going to feel a lot better. But you have
Yeah,
to make that effort. And that's a vibration that you receive when you're meditating.
yeah. It's yeah,
Connection.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know,
So for people who are putting their lives back together after a near-death experience, I think that you're saying that it's really good to search more deeply into different methods that might help them become vibrationally aligned.
you know, I think when we come back, we are so powerful. We are all powerful, but when we go and we come back, we get a glimpse of our power. And I think it takes time for us to step into that power, depending on how
I
far
agree.
we're away from it. Like, do you know what I mean? So I believe more than anything, I believe we need community. I think because our energy vibration shifts so much that we need others who has been on this journey on different paths of it to help us feel that sense of, I got this, I know this, I'm not crazy. Because when we try to be ourselves in this world who has not had those experience, I feel like I was imposing on all of them to understand this new change in me that I was having a hard time understanding. So,
Right.
and that's hard. And I think to a degree, I think we all kind of have that, perhaps from what I've
Yeah.
heard, you know?
Well, I think it's like going to a country that no one else knows exists. And you can describe it, but they don't even believe it exists. So, I mean, where do you go from there?
Yeah. You go and hang out with the people who've been there and back, and then you talk about all the fun things and all the fun memories
Yeah.
and all the cool places you
But,
went, you know?
but it really is wonderful. And I mean, I think that there's so much more to life, and there's so many different ways of experiencing it than what we have done. And I just remembered something I was going to ask you. Tell us how you manifested a Tesla.
Oh my goodness. Ah, that was so funny. So I was driving a minivan because I had 3 children. And for a while, I was just like, this has been so good. I want another car. So I did that whole, I love my car. This is good car, but I'm ready for a new car. But I kind of made it difficult for the universe. I was like, I want a really nice car, but I want a sporty car. I want a fast car. I want it to be this and I want it to be that. But I didn't know it was a Tesla. And and I also didn't want to make monthly payments, and I didn't want to have this, so I kind of made it difficult. And one day I woke up and I just, when you do meditation, you wake up, you want to do weird things, right? Like, what do you
Right.
want? Let's go do this, right? Oh, maybe we should go test drive a car. So I was going to test drive a car, and I happened to talk to my brother, and he's like, what are you doing today? I was like, oh, I'm gonna go test drive a car. He goes, okay, well, go test drive a Tesla. I'm like, what are you talking about? Insane. First of all, I can't afford that. Second of all, I don't like Teslas. I think they're ugly, right? There was only a few at the time. So I was like, fine, I'll go. I went and I test drove it, and I fell in love. And I was like, this is it. I knew that was my car. And I ordered one. I put a deposit.
Yeah.
I don't know how this is going to happen, but I have 3 months to make it happen. So I ordered my Tesla and I went about my business. And in those 3 months, and a few times I thought about it, I was like, oh my God, it's coming up. It's coming up. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And 3 months passed and boom, they call me and they're like, your Tesla's ready to be picked up. I was like, oh shit, I haven't sold my minivan yet. So literally I posted it that night. I got an offer that was insanely, literally double to what I thought I was going to get for it. I don't know how, but it just did. And I had the funds the next day. I went and I, gave them the money that I had, and then the balance. It was funny because my brother was like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll take care of it," and he got the rest of it. And I drove out with the Tesla, no payment, no nothing. I was like, "Oh my God, I did it!" So
Oh, that's wonderful. I just thought that was a fun story to end all the things that we talked about. So we're coming to the end. So I want to thank you so much, Leena, for being with us and sharing your experiences and so much information.
yes, thank you for giving me.
And for
Yeah.
You're welcome. And I guess people could find you at IANDS in Las Vegas. They want to meet you and talk about near-death experiences.
Yes, absolutely. So, IANDS of Las Vegas, starting up a group there. So we do sharing circles or sharing groups there, and then also IANDS.org. There are free sharing groups Thursdays and Sundays, and there's different groups all around the world that they can go and find a community close to them if they're not close to me here. But yeah, IANDS is an incredible organization. They can reach out and find a sharing group close to them, or if they're in Vegas area or they want to join mine, I'd love to have them. But yes.
Okay, so thank you everyone for listening. You can find me at onetrueself.com, onetrueself.com. You can sign up for my weekly newsletter on my website and get many tips about the energetic weather and what's going on and how to develop your consciousness on a spiritual level. So you can also purchase readings for yourself or your pet. So if you need to talk to me, send an email to onetrueself@gmail.com. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks again for being with us. Namaste.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Join us next time as Julia takes us deeper into the memory of the moments of light where transcendence and enlightenment emerge. The memory of the jewel of consciousness is always lived within you to tap into waves of energy and create huge changes by imagining the beauty of the vision and desires that are hidden in the heart. Learn to find your way back to nature, beauty, and your own heart, which holds the secrets of your existence and future. To discover more about Julia's adventures, animal communication, and the teachings she brings to every show, visit onetrueself.com. That's onetrueself.com. That's ONE, trueself.com.